I lost $150,000 on these two properties ever since the market shifted and the rates started going up in the real estate industry. The industry today is changing, the market is changing, the housing industry is so much speculation. Is the commercial market crashing? Is the single family market holding up? What's next? Should I be flipping? Should I be buying and holding? Should I be waiting? What should I do? I don't know. All these questions are things that we're all thinking. Despite that, I was still doing real estate when the market shifted. I'm still doing real estate today, and I still lost money despite how good I am, or how good I think I am in this business. I'm gonna go over how I lost money on these two houses, and also what I'm gonna do differently when it comes to analyzing these deals, as well as what I'm gonna do differently when it comes to the construction and rehab of future projects and what I'm doing today. So let's jump into this right now. Hold on, guys, I got a call. Yeah. 11%, but if I buy it down, it might be 10%. Interest rate on a buy and hold? Heck no. I'm gonna go shop around. I think there's a better solution out there. I don't even want to talk to you. Like, that's not even gonna work for me, especially if I'm buying a hold in a property. There's no cash flow, man. Thank you. Man, most lenders are overpriced. They don't understand there's other options out there, which is why you go to SoFi. With competitive rates for buyers, low down payment options, and zero origination fees, SoFi is a great option for landlords, house hackers, residential buyers, and everyone in between. SoFi was even named the top mortgage lender for saving money by CNBC Select. And with on-time close guaranteed offer, you get the confidence SoFi is dedicated to closing your loan on time. Visit SoFi.com/bigger-pockets for a commitment-free mortgage rate check without impacting your credit. Go to SoFi.com/bigger-pockets and check out what they can get you today. All right, like I said, I lost $150,000, actually more than that, a little bit more than that, on two properties over the last 12 months because of the market shifting. Now, I say because of the market shifting, that's kind of BS. There's a great book I love reading out there called Extreme Ownership. I bought these properties. I've been taking the risk for years. These are all my fault. Everything I'm about to share with you is my fault, which is also, because it's my fault, it also gives me the power to be able to make changes, so it can also be my fault to still make more money in real estate. Despite the market shifting, there's always money to be made in any industry, in any market cycle, whether it's up or down, if you know what you're doing, for lack of a better word, or you get really lucky, like some of us did as the market was skyrocketing up over the last few years. So first off, what happened? So these two properties over the last 12 months, I lost a bunch of money on. Now, I bought both properties right before the market shifted, and both are great stories to be able to tell and great situations to be able to share that have changed how I view real estate and how I do real estate, and how I've gotten a little lazy in the past about how we did real estate, and how we're going back to how we were back before the market was skyrocketing. So this first property here is a property we bought in Kirkland, Washington. Now, when we bought this property, we assumed an after repair value, ARV, of $1.4 million. Now, we did a lot to this project. In fact, we nailed it even. We were on schedule. We were pretty much on budget. I think we were off about 5% on budget, and we mapped it out, nailed it. My team crushed it. We got it on market in about 4.5 months from buying it. Now, some of you guys thinking like, that's a long time. Not in Kirkland, Washington, and not when you're doing a $150,000 rehab budget on a property. And plus also waiting almost 2 months for permits. We nailed it on this one. Yet, despite the fact that we nailed it on the construction rehab as well as on the timeline, it got on the market right when interest rates started spiking. It got on the market in June 2022. It started staying on market in July, and it went from, when we bought the property, from 1.4, it jumped to 1.6 in April, and we're like, we're gonna make a lot of money on this house, and then it ended up selling at the end of July and closing in August of 2022 for $1.2 million. So we went from 1.4, 1.6 to 1.2, all within about a 4 or 5 month period. Now, why did we sell it? Well, we sold it because that's what we bought it for, right? Was to flip it. Could we have controlled the fact that the after repair value went from 1.4 to 1.6 to 1.2? No, there's nothing we could have done about that. When the rehab was on point, the comps were on point, everything said, we were good to go. Yeah, rates change, which deep down inside, I definitely knew the rates were going to change soon. I just didn't know when. I made one more bet. That didn't work out. And on this property, we lost roughly around $80,000, $90,000. Sometimes we do this business and our bets don't work. This entire business is about mitigating risk. I say that over and over again in a lot of my videos and a lot of things we do in this business. We're about mitigating risk. You mitigate risk through more education and through more data And more problem solving and more SOPs and more processes and more systems and all that great stuff allows you to mitigate risk in this business. But at the end of the day, there's only so much risk you can mitigate, especially if you're trying to get a high return. And we're ultimately guessing at the end of the day based on the education we have. So we're educatedly guessing on these deals. The first thing that we're diving into more hardcore than we've ever done before is when it comes to pulling comps. We've always pulled comps on our properties. We've always analyzed risk through pulling comparables comps on properties. We pull as-is comps, and we also pull after repair value comps. Now, when we're pulling these ARV comps, which most of us know what these are, we're getting more nichey. We're figuring out which properties came online now, which properties came online that are sitting on market. Which properties did they do a higher end finish? Did they do a lower end finish? Is there a way that we don't have to be the best property on the market in that neighborhood? Can we do a little bit less of the best and still hit our numbers that we need to have? So we're not competing against the highest price property. We don't want to be the highest price property in a market in a specific area. We want to be the most affordable, or we want to be the one that most people want in some capacity because we're a little bit less. So we're analyzing these deals to not be the top of the market anymore. We're analyzing these deals to be kind of in the middle. So it's a good property, fixed up nicely, and it's going to get us the return we need, but also not sit on market. Our second thing that we're really highly focused on when it comes to what we learned from this property and other ones like it is we're really focused on CDOM, continuous days on market. That's how long are these properties sitting? See, I've been spoiled over the last few years. I've been sitting here in Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, flipping like a crazy man, right? Even our rentals, not lasting more than maybe 2 or 3 days on market. And when a property goes to 7 days, we're like, oh my God, that's like 100% increase, right? Which is a joke, right? So when I got started in this business, really, really hardcore, I got started back in 2010, or hardcore in 2010. I technically got started in 2005, but I started really flipping houses in 2010, 11, 12, 13, and so forth. CDOMs, continuous days on market for us, we bet 60 days on average, minimum on some of our properties. We would just say, all right, it's at least 60 days, even in the Seattle, Tacoma area. We just assumed that it was going to take that long. When we got lazy is that we started going like 3 days max, 7 days max, 10 days, oh my God, let's drop the price, right? That happened over the last few years, and some of you guys know that. So we start adding in time on the market. Some areas in the US today are sitting on market for 100 plus, 150 days, and so forth. So what's your continuous days on market for your neighborhood? Don't guess it's just going to get overpriced and overbid. Probably not. So we're betting on 30 to 60 days on average that we're going to be on market, and we're adding that time for our market where we are. Where you are, it's going to be different. You might need to bet 90, 100, 150 days. Who knows with what market you're in? Maybe it's 2 weeks. But figure out what the average days on market is for your neighborhood that you're listing your house. And and then maybe add and double it just in case. That's something that we're doing for holding time and expectation. It's one thing to sit there and know that it's going to get you 60 days to be on market and be okay with that versus thinking it's 30 and then it ends up being 60. I'd rather just bet on the 60 and be surprised when it's 30. Just like when it comes to construction rehab, if you assume everything's going to go right, you're wrong. Just assume something's going to go wrong and be surprised when it doesn't, and when everything goes right. So just assume something's going to go wrong. Assume your property is going to be on market longer, and the stress actually, believe it or not, dies down. It's great. The third thing that we're changing up on our process is something that we're going back again. All these things are things we've always done in the past. We just got lazy on over the last few years. For those of you guys that are brand new, you never really needed to do these things before until very recently. But the third thing is seller concessions. What is a seller concession? And basically it means that when I list a house, I'm already going to put into my profit and loss sheet, my basically projections, that I'm going to have to give away something to the buyer. I'm going to have to have some sort of concession as a seller to the buyer. Very, very, very common, especially during the FHA days and during the REO days and so forth, pre-20s, right? Back into 2012, 13, 14, 10, whatever. Very common, you're going to give a 3% concession to a buyer to help with down payment, help them buy points down, and so forth. We haven't had to do a concession for years in the market that we've been in. We don't even look at that. Somebody does a concession, go away. We're not giving you anything back. Now we're adding 3% minimum to our concession when we're analyzing a property. You might even need to think about going higher than that. Maybe you need to go 4 or 5% and use that to buy the points down on the loan, buy the rate down on the loan for your buyer on your property. A lot of builders right now, believe it or not, are giving away massive concessions to be able to get somebody a lower interest rate. If you go on the market today and you're getting a conventional loan, you might get a 7-8+% interest rate if you just pay your normal points and your normal fees to your normal lender. But you might have a builder offering you a 5% interest rate. How did they do that? The only way they do that is they go to a local bank or some other bank that they can work with and say, we're going to give you $50,000 per loan that you do to pay down the points, pay down the interest rate for whatever borrower we're bringing to you. They're paying massive concessions to get rid of the inventory that they have now, their building inventory, their new homes. So they might be giving away 4, 5, 6, 10 points on a property to be able to buy down the interest rate for somebody else so that they can buy the house. That's something that you might need to think about doing as well, and just build that into your profit and loss sheet. So this property that we had in Kirkland, if we look back on it, the timing of the situation, the fact that we bought it right at the height of the market and we sold it right when the market freaked out, especially in Kirkland, Washington, one of the hottest markets in the US at one point. It was also the fastest to drop in a very short period of time. If we would have looked at that and done those three things, believe it or not, they wouldn't have helped us all that much. We might have bought it for a little bit less, but at the end of the day, we just would have lost a little bit less money. We probably would have still lost something, but we wouldn't have saved $80,000, $90,000. We probably would have maybe only lost 10 or 20,000, but at least that helps us a little bit more going into the future. However, based on the timing of when we bought that house, we probably wouldn't have been able to buy it because somebody else would have bought it at the end of the day, and maybe somebody else should have. So let's go to the second property. The second property that we lost right around $70,000, $80,000 at as well. This property was bought in West Seattle. Now this property, what the lesson on this one has nothing to do with the after repair value. We actually nailed it on the after repair value. The big issue on this one was the construction and rehab. The construction and rehab on this property was something more than we usually would do on a particular house when it comes to how many other properties we were working on. We have some rules when it comes to our construction. We're only allowed to do a certain level of construction depending on the number of properties we're currently working on. This property, however, we bought it thinking we were going to keep it as a rental, and we're going to build an ADU in the background, attached accessory dwelling unit. So we were going to go do all that stuff and be able to keep this property as cash flowing property. Know we were going to leave money into it over time. And that didn't work out very well when our rehab budget skyrocketed for a number of reasons. Last year, as you guys know, and so forth in the market, rehab budgets have been getting funky. Certain things, supply chain issues become issues. And when we bought this property, we ignored some of that because we were getting lucky over time with our construction and rehab, and we weren't really managing it as strictly as we used to manage it back in the day. So the biggest thing we're changing today, and something that we already changed, believe it or not, is getting hardcore on our construction and rehab budgets. We're sharpening those pencils as much as possible to narrow down what our construction and rehab is going to be. So that's the first thing when it comes to construction and rehab, and why we lost money on this property in particular is because our rehab budget went up. But in the basement, for instance, we had to rip out most of the concrete there, level it all completely out and reframe it, and also put in an interior French drain. Two things we weren't really expecting to do in the beginning. To make matters worse, right in the middle of doing that, the labor unions there in the Seattle area, when it comes to truck drivers, believe it or not, all went on strike. So it was impossible for almost 3 months to get concrete in the Seattle-Tacoma area, specifically the King County area of Seattle. That set us back big time on this project. Additionally, labor costs were going up like crazy. Additionally, people were struggling to get anybody to do anything because they were all last minute doing construction. And there was also a lot of projects that were still being delayed and pushed out due to how much demand of people needing to do construction or rehab, especially in the Seattle area. The cost got away from us. The time got away from us. We got a little lazy on a few things. Full disclosure on that. We had longer term delays on making decisions. In fact, at the end of the day, we didn't manage this project correctly. We were too hands off. We ignored some of our own processes. And because of that, it bit us in the butt. So what are we doing differently? Majorly focused hardcore on our rehab budgets. What is our scope of work? Something we know how to do, something that as long as you're in this business, you should be doing more and more and more, which is fine-tuning your scopes of work. The challenge is most of us get in this business, we don't ever plan on becoming experts on construction or rehab. However, it is something in today's business, especially if you're going to do any kind of value add properties, you have to get good at construction and rehab, or somebody on your team needs to get really good at it. And that's for sure. Without a doubt, you can't do this business successfully if you're doing value add without mastering construction and rehab. That is this business. A lot of people say you make all your money on the buy. Absolutely. And you make even more money on the buy if you manage your construction or rehab appropriately, on time, on budget, every time, if you can, which is never going to happen. Spoiler alert. So besides sharpening our pencils and really narrowing down our rehab budgets, we're also going to narrow down our niche. Know your role. Know what level of rehab you and your team are comfortable at. What level of rehab are me and my team comfortable at with what geography we're in? If we're in our core area of Tacoma, Washington, we can handle almost any size of construction and rehab. If we go outside of Tacoma, like right now, I'm looking at investing in different states right now, I'm not going to be able to handle a $300,000 construction rehab project like I could in Tacoma, Washington, the same way that I might do on the East Coast, which is some areas I'm looking at right now. If I take the same processes that I thought that worked well with the same contractors in one market that I specialize in and try to duplicate that in another market day one, I might be in for a rude awakening. So know your niche, know your role, know your level of construction and rehab that you're comfortable at, and don't go over that until you know you can. Are you somebody that focuses on cosmetic rehabs? Can you add a bathroom? Can you not? Can you do a gut out down to the studs, construction remodel? Those things can get away from you. And if it's still something that you're not comfortable with, stay away from it until you can do it. And when you do it, do one of them. Don't do a bunch of them at one time. Just spoiler on that. So we're narrowing back down in our niche. We know our role. We're focusing hardcore on what we're good at and not getting outside of that box. At the end of the day, what's your buy box? What's your buying criteria? Redefine that. That's what we're doing. And part of that buying criteria has to do with the level of construction and rehab that we're very comfortable with, and everything else is a no. The final thing when it comes to the West Seattle project that we lost money on, that we're changing differently today, going back to what we used to work, is that there's a lot of pricing adjustments right now on construction and rehab. Contractors have a lag time before they could catch up with supply and demand. There's been a huge amount of demand in the rehab and construction field for years that have jacked up prices, whether material shortages, labor shortages, you name it, overabundance of jobs out there for contractors to do and not a lot of supply to be able to fulfill those jobs. Therefore, prices went up. But as rates have shifted and as people's appetites in real estate and construction have died down, there's a lag of when contractors were used to paying $100 an hour, right, for labor, to realize that's not the price that's going to get approved anymore, and they need to start lowering their price down. As that time happens, it might mean that our contractors that we're used to, that we started paying at a higher price in 18, 19, 20, 21, and so forth over the years, might not be the right contractors for us as the market shifts because they want to keep getting paid what we paid them in 2021, 2022. It might mean, and it does mean, that we have to go get new bids, build new relationships, go find the contractors that have adjusted their prices, or renegotiate with our current contractors saying, look, work's down, you want to keep working with us, this is the price that we can pay going forward on XYZ item. So that's it, guys. I mean, it's pretty simple. We lost money, we bit the bullet, we got rid of these properties. They weren't going to be good ones for us to keep over the years and wait it out. So believe it or not, sometimes it's not good to wait it out. It doesn't get better all the time. A lot of the people that are struggling today that are recovering house flippers like myself, I say I'm a recovering house flipper not because I recovered as a house flipper, but because I got out of house flipping and started buying more passively. A lot of people that are actually recovering though, and have struggled over the last 12 months, are because of projects they bought before the market shifted. Get out of those. Find a way to stabilize them. Do what you got to do. They're not going to get better. It's not going to get easier. And I'm quoting myself right now, right here, as it is. The rates aren't dropping anytime soon, so don't bet on that. And that's September 2023 when I said that. Right? I do not believe the rates are dropping anytime soon. So don't expect that to happen. You can comment, like, subscribe to this video. You can also follow me on Instagram at Tarl Yarber, and I'll see you on the next video.